Welcome to the 98 Central podcast, where we talk about growing a business, working in media, and building a team that we love. I'm AJ Villanueva. I'm the junior editor here at 98 Central. And here today, I'm joined by Kyle Jewell, our social media strategist.
What's up?
How's it going?
It's going, man. I'm excited to talk about this. This is fun.
Yeah, I actually brought you here today to talk about a wonderful film that I guess released 3-ish months ago at the time of recording.
And loved it.
Yeah, everyone saw it. Everyone was like just in love with it. It was good. I'm talking about Morbius, the hit movie Morbius featuring Jared Leto and Michael Morbius. So the movie came out in March-ish, and it was probably the biggest Marvel flop that we have ever seen in recent history, I guess. Yeah. You want to talk about like what happened?
Sure. Yeah. So like you said, big flop, right? So a big promotion, looked like a promising film. We're not here to debate the quality of the film necessarily. Right. Opening weekend was not good. It wasn't strong, and it was kind of a bummer. Now we shift over to the social media side. So,
right, of course.
Kind of a lull. I mean, there was promotion obviously for the film. It was just it was quiet on the Morbius front for a few weeks.
Few weeks, right? Yeah. And then maybe like a month or two later, it just so happened that meme culture decided to just take a grasp at Morbius and just say, let's just joke about it. Let's just bring it back into life and just kind of absolutely thrash it.
Yeah. So in, I think it may have been late March, early April. There was one tweet where someone just did a fake script. Yeah. Morbius. And one of the lines they inserted was, "It's Morbin time."
It's Morbin time.
Which we love. But it turned, it's obviously very funny, but it turned into like this whole thing where memes for the next like month were just about like Morbin, and it's Morbin time, and making fun of this film that like totally did not succeed in terms of box office dollars, and it just kind of kept the movie alive or gave it second life,
at least on social media.
Yeah, for a while. And then things kind of kept rolling from there. Yeah,
and I guess you would say Sony kind of saw this like social media influx of people just talking about Morbius, being like, "This is Morbin, and we're Morbin time. It's great." Sony decided, hey, there's a lot of traction now. We should probably re-release the movie, right?
Yeah, so that seems to be the decision that was made. And it's a really good, it's almost a social listening case study. Yeah. We're drawing assumptions. We obviously don't know the inner workings of how Sony like came to this decision, but I feel like you can assume that they had a social listening tool that was keyed into conversations about Morbius and Morbin. Yeah. and the volume was probably off the charts. And so you see that high number of volume and you think people are interested, people want this, like let's give the people what they want. Obviously let's churn some dollars back out.
Yeah. So what do you think like this social listening tool was like looking for? Was it just looking for like Morbius or just like any sort of like post? Because not every post is a good post, Right. Like what do you think it was like looking for?
Yeah, so this is I'll draw back from my experience with a social listening tool. It's really hard to teach a machine any sort of automated like social listening tool that attaches sentiment to a message. It's really hard to teach that thing. You almost have to go into every single message and double check that the sentiment assigned is correct. I remember doing it, and we had to override like 80 to 90% of what it put in there, and no fault of the social listening tool. It's just hard to do that as an automated. You need a human to read the entire message to get the context. Yeah. So if you're just looking for volume, then perfect. I mean, great decision, right? But if you're looking to take social listening insights and base your business decisions off of them, you need to know your context and your sentiment.
Yes.
Which is always important, and this is a good example of why it's important.
Yeah, why? Let's just like expand on that. Why is it so important? It's specifically for brands and just anyone on social media who's maybe trying to use like a social listener. Yeah. Why is it so important to just have a person actually go through these posts and just look at it and be like, hey, this is actually really negative. We should probably not go this
route.
route.
Well, that's the other thing too, is that you can't really teach a social listening tool, not yet at least, that memes exist and that like sarcasm. It's hard to teach like anything that's not human about sarcasm.
Yeah.
So specifically for Morbius, you have all of this conversation that is mocking the film. That might be harsh, but I think that's kind of accurate. I think
that's what happened.
Mocking the film, mocking Jared Leto. I mean, it was not in support of the film, right? So all you really had to do was read through these to get a clear picture of like, okay, these are not supportive messages per se. These are not people saying that they wish Morbius was in theaters, or at least alluding to like, I can't wait to see Morbius. I got to see it. It just looks so good. So if you if you strip away that context, you miss 90% of the story there. And for Sony, that cost them money. I mean, they had to re-release that, and I think the end. They ended up breaking in it was like $100K for that weekend.
Yeah, it was like $86
per theater
in the United States, I believe.
Yeah, and I can't even pretend to know what it costs to promote a re-release or to actually physically do it. But I imagine it maybe costs more than $100,000. So I think it's a failure on not on social listening, but it's a failure on making sure that team had the information that they needed. It could have been a time thing. You automate things when you don't have time to do it.
Right.
I mean, and then not having someone with the understanding in the room to say like, okay, sure, volume is high, right? But what is the volume saying? If the volume is overwhelmingly negative, that tells us something bad. If the volume is overwhelmingly positive, that tells us that we can keep going. It's a good idea.
Yeah, absolutely. I guess final question. We're going to keep this podcast a little short because Morbius doesn't really need to be talked about too much. But what would you recommend like social brands do, like if they just happen to see this and they just flop on something and just need to do something about it?
Yeah, I mean like I said, it's a really good case study into why social listening, why you shouldn't automate your social listening, why it still needs like a human touch. Understanding context is important for obviously everything. Like I said, you can't machine learn context. What brands could do for this is put their team in a position to make a good decision. Don't capitalize on the momentum or the waves, right? If the context isn't there, right? If the sentiment doesn't match up. We said earlier, I can only assume that this is how it went. To me, it kind of matches up. I'm sure there's much more that went into the decision. I'm sure it wasn't just like, hey, listening's up. Okay, let's release it. Like, but it is a good case study, and this is why it's so important. And we were looking at messages for a financial institution. So for that, you would think it's much more cut and dry. But again, there's the sarcastic, like, oh, what a great place. Like, I'm sure it's awesome. Like, everyone should join. But you can't really get that sarcasm if you're just reading the words for what they are.
Right, exactly.
So making sure that you have human oversight onto your listening, making sure that you have a reviewing process, you have someone in the room, one of the decision makers understands sentiment and listening and where listening draws from, like what channels are you feeding in? Is Reddit feeding in there? Is it just Twitter? Are you pulling in like RSS, different types of maybe blogs perhaps? Because if you're only seeing one of those channels, you're only getting a fraction of the total messages, which is another thing that I'm going to assume happened because there was a lot of conversation on Twitter.
Yes.
But if they had gone to Reddit, they would have seen like very in-depth, detailed like reviews that were not in favor of the movie.
Generally negative things.
Yeah, so it's listening. The wider your net can be with listening, the more truer of an image picture that you're going to get really for what the sentiment is for your brand, your product, whatever it is.
Yeah, absolutely. So, that's kind of the whole conversation that we really need to have.
Yeah.
Needless to say, you should not always listen to social media, and it's not always Morbin time, even though it is here. Just to end it off on a joke, I guess. What are you digging this week, Kyle?
I am digging. I'm digging The Boys.
Oh yeah,
Amazon Prime. It's back. Horrific first scene. Explosive, if you will.
Wow.
Yeah, I gave away a little bit there.
Oh god.
What about you? What are you digging?
Oh man. I actually have tried to start picking up reading again because I feel like everyone should start reading. Or everyone should read, just in general. I'm reading a book called Furyborn. It's big on TikTok. Apparently, it was
Interesting.
big on TikTok for a while. It's just about I don't really know exactly yet. I just
Okay.
started the book,
Good.
but I enjoy. It's very high fantasy, and high fantasy just kind of throws you into the setting.
Yeah.
And I've just been
Trying
really
to catch
digging
up.
it. Yeah, it's just like I don't know. I've just got here, you know.
Gotcha.
But that's probably the biggest thing I've been liking. So
That's cool.
yeah, if you want to hear more from us, we are on social media. We are on Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube at 98 Central, 98C. We also have a website, 98c.org.tv. I don't know what it is.
Yeah, you can get to it from 98c.org or 98c.tv.
Yeah,
Whichever
just
one.
either or, whichever one you want to choose. And we're on Spotify, Apple Music. Give us a like, rate us, give us a little review if you want. And yeah, thanks for joining, guys.
I would like a nap. I can't wait to get home and take a nap. All day this week, except for yesterday because I was home all day. I've gone home. That's enough. That's enough.
Growing, working, loving.